everybody, it's your old pal Rod. Today we are going to be talking about this part two. Welcome to Comic Book Saturday, part two of our very start of Thanos discovering the Infinity Gems. And this Marvel 2-in-1 Annual 2 is an all-time classic. Written by Jim Starlin. Again, picks up where we left off. Again, this feels rushed and compact into 2 issues, even though it's a fantastic story. But we kind of skip ahead, and where we're at is Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man, is sleeping and is dreaming of Sanctuary 2 and all the events that had happened. And then also fast forwards from the end of Avengers 7 to where we're at, where we're at with Peter Parker dreaming, but also shows the quick defeat of the Avengers and how they've all been put into a status chamber. And now Thanos has the Soul Gem. He actually has the Soul Gem and is going to use that to annihilate by just taking the one gem and amplifying it to destroy the universe and snuff out stars. Peter Parker awakens and heads over and feels that, gee, what can I do? I'm just Spider-Man. I'm just a human. He goes, I know people that can take care of that, and that's, of course, the Fantastic Four, who are used to handling all kinds of galactic threats like this. He then takes off to find the Thing. And where he finds the Thing in a kind of a comedic thing, he's reading a Dracula book, and of course sneaks up on him and scares the living daylights out of Ben Grimm. Come to find out, the rest of the Fantastic Four are away, but Thing says, okay, if you really believe that this isn't some wacky dream or that, you know, you're telling some whacked out tale, let's get in the ship and find out if anything's going out there. And of course they do. They get out there, and sure enough, there is Sanctuary 2 on the other side of the sun, closing in on snuffing out one of the planets that caused Thanos the biggest problem, which is Earth. They get onto Sanctuary, and it is overwhelming for Spider-Man and Thing as they are fighting their way through. They run into Thanos, and of course he dispatches of Thing pretty quickly. Spider-Man looks at him and of course says, no, I'm not doing this, and takes off because the situation is bigger than he can handle. This is cosmic situations. This is beyond his means. He's just Spider-Man, and he realizes this. We are also introduced in this issue to Chaos and Order, which play a big part in this as they observe and kind of help Spider-Man along the way and hope that he can pick up on the senses of what needs to be done to stop the threat of Thanos. Of course, Chaos and Order are balances. For there has to be chaos and there has to be order to have balance in the universe. What then happens is that Spider-Man tries to fight his way through and tries to figure out a way to free the Avengers who are in status. And as they're closing in, Thanos has the Soul Gem trapped and wants to use it to, of course, like as I said, snuff out all the stars. Spider-Man then realizes that there's no way that he can take on Thanos, and that the only way that he can free the Avengers who are caught in the status of this machine was to destroy the machine, and the only way to do that is to use his own self and sacrifice himself. He throws his body through the status machine, which awakens the Avengers, and a battle ensues. And this battle is just absolutely brutal as all the crew members from the Sanctuary 2 or Thanos followers and Thanos take on the Avengers, the Thing, and eventually the awakening Spider-Man. There is an iconic vision of Thor and Thing trying to take on Thanos as they're trying to pummel him. Meanwhile, the rest of the Avengers are trying to take on the outworldly crew of Sanctuary 2. The battle ensues until Spider-Man starts to sense that he needed to get over and get free the Soul Gem, which within the Soul Gem, where if we remember, lies Adam Warlock and all his friends. Adam proceeds to say, I'm so at so peace finally, and then finally decides that there's one last thing he has to do before he can find his eternal peace. And he felt himself being pulled and called. And as Spider-Man is trying to fight, he has all these aliens all over him, and he knows that he has to free the Soul Gem. And he gets over to the Soul Gem as Thanos is knocking around the Avengers to no end, knocks over the globe that had kept the Soul Gem in status, and knocks it over, and then from the Soul Gem comes the spirit of Adam Warlock. And this brings nothing but fear to Thanos as he goes over and walks over the spirit of Warlock and defeats Thanos, encasing him in stone, and then disappearing to the Soul Gem, where he will finally find his final resting spot and peace. With Thanos defeated and the Earth saved, they release all the captured villains that were following Thanos, because you're not going to imprison them on Earth. All they're going to do is cause even more bedlam. So let them loose and do whatever deeds they plan to do, or trouble they seem to cause, as long as they don't cause it on Earth. Finally, on the moon, they bury Adam Warlock, and they place the Soul Gem at the foot of the grave of Adam Warlock. And finally, Adam Warlock has his final resting place and peace. And the Avengers mourn the loss of Adam Warlock, but revel in the defeat of Thanos, to which they find that this more likely is the end. Now, this plays a major part, because 10 years later, we'll see this revived in Thanos' quest, and we'll cover those books as well as the Infinity Gauntlet. But you know, right now, a lot of people only know the movies for the Infinity Gauntlet. This story really sets up the whole Infinity Gauntlet, because even in Thanos' quest, which we'll get to, and he'll refer back to this moment, because death frees him from his stone in prison, which basically is his death, and brings him back and wants him to work for her once again. And he tries to figure out how he can use the gems, and he realized he used them as a jackhammer instead of a scalpel. And this leads into the Infinity Gauntlet and his quest, his Thanos quest, as how he goes about getting the gems, because nobody ever considered that if you put all the gems together, what would happen. They always considered the gems an identity, but something that each one did its own separate thing, and you would have to deal with them separately instead of collectively. Thus, the elders of the universe each were assigned one and used them, and they consider themselves the elders due to the stones being the oldest, which space, time, of course. This all gets explained in Thanos' quest, which is a must-read. But to really, before you even get to that point, I really feel that this series with Avengers Annual 7 and Marvel 2-in-1 collectively is a must read before you can really understand the concept of everything that happens through Thanos' quest and the Infinity Gauntlet, because it really is a telling tale of Jim Starlin's vision for the saga of Adam Warlock and Thanos. Now, where this feels rushed, it becomes a great beginning point, because 10 years later, when they do the Infinity Gauntlet and everything leading to it, this is heavily resourced and becomes a very important part of a story that I think he felt wasn't complete in what he wanted to do with it. And thus you have the Infinity Gauntlet, which now is an all-time classic and a must-read for any Marvel fan. So there you have it. Marvel 2-in-1-2, the conclusion to the Infinity Saga. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We've got plenty of other things, and we're going to be doing DC books, independent books, all kinds of different things on Comic Book Saturday. Again, this is still bi-weekly. We're going to monitor this, see how it does as it grows and as it does better. We'll see about bringing it weekly. There have been some calls for it to be weekly, but we're going to keep it, and we're going to keep building this and keep this nice and simple. Mix it bi-weekly with Sci-Fi Saturday and see how they both progress. And we're going to do this for the long haul. We're going to give it 6 months and see where we're at. If it becomes overwhelmingly popular, well, guess what? We will definitely go to a weekly series. Right now, I hope you're enjoying what we do bi-weekly. And until next time, for your old pal Rob and Comic Book Saturday, we'll see you soon.